Here we go. One step at a time, don't be living on the line. I don't need a friend.
Thank you very much, and yes, I guess I am the oxymoron up here. But I want to start with a funny story. So I have a exchange student who started. I am the CIO. I'm an exchange student who started in January with schooling. And she came in and she said, "You're the CIO." And I said, "Yep, I'm the CIO." I go, "Do you know what that is?" And she goes, "Yeah, that's somebody who has to make a lot of decisions and has a lot of responsibility, like at Mattel, where that guy killed himself." And I said, "You are absolutely right. That's who we are." But yes, I'm the CIO for Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. It's a weird concept. I was a consultant, and I started at Minnesota Housing because of what they really were. So it's a mortgage bank functioning in an environment in which they want to provide safe, affordable housing for all of Minnesotans. So I want you to think about that. It's a mortgage bank who's regulated, federally regulated, and has its own bond rating. What is a mortgage bank's job? What's it supposed to do? Make money. And what's the mission of the organization? To provide safe, affordable housing for all Minnesotans. Do you see the clash? Do you see, how can anybody do that? Does anybody here want my job? Oh my goodness. So, extreme data made simple, openness. It's very important that we identify what the problem is. So you've heard it already. You heard it from Thornton, you heard it from Seth yesterday. There's an overload of information, data, tools, processes, models, system, methodologies, etc. Blah, 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 blah. If I hear ITIL with Agile, and we need to get this data with that data source, and do this and do that again, oh my goodness, I hear it every day. It's just what we live and breathe. That is what we have to solve. Organizations are continually asked to do more with less and make data-driven decisions. So you have less and less and making data-driven decisions. So you have these data scientists working like crazy, and you have these C-level folks going, "Oh, but I want this and I want this." And there's just this disconnect. And they're calling this the new norm. If this is the new norm, I better see a newer norm coming out, because this is not sustainable. And it's because, what did Seth say yesterday? We are all driven for more. Customers, users, clients are all asking for more information. It is what we live and breathe, more and more and more. The more and more that's out there, the more and more we know, it makes us ask another question to want more on top of that. And what's happening? Staff, we're feeling the pressures, burnout, frustrations. We're just not getting the job done. I mean, you heard it throughout. I mean, that sets the stage for most of the speakers who are talking about these theories today, just not getting the job done. But it's not for lack of effort. I just want to stop and pause for a second. I am not saying people are doing a bad job. I am just saying that there is so much out there, so much to do. Getting the job done is just very difficult. We have to do more with less. How can we do that better in the future? So I see it as an opportunity. Collaboration, data sharing, and engagement have never been more important at solving the complex challenges as of right now today. I think Thornton said the exact same thing. It's the truth. It is collaboration. It's what's making things work, collaboration, because we don't have all the resources internally. I don't care if you're a vendor or a user or an organization that provides widgets. It is really important that we work and collaborate to solve these complex challenges. And we are transforming information technology is transforming the way we do business day in, day out. I think of the iPad. So the iPad 1 came out, and that was great, lasted about a year. Then the iPad 2 came out, then there was the 3, and then 4 and I think 5 came out, and there was a different plug and a different processor, and in the middle of there was a mini someplace. And that all happened in like the last 5 months. How do we keep up with that? It's crazy the amount of information that's being thrown at us and the technologies being thrown at us. So I believe we're in the cusp of a shared power world. And I know that's kind of, well, what the heck is he talking about? It's where more data and more power is in the hands of the people, customers, users, et cetera. They are going to be driving the decisions that we are making as the C-level folks more and more and more. Continually, we're going out to find out what do our end users want and how are they communicating to us. They're collaborating in groups back to us to tell us more about our business than we've ever seen before. So what is a shared power world? We live in a world where no one is fully in charge when it comes to virtually every important problem, need, or opportunity. Think about that. Has anybody been to the 3M Innovation Center? Has anybody had the opportunity to see that? One person? Was it amazing? It is just an amazing, amazing environment. So I went in there thinking, oh, 3M, they do this, they do that, they make Post-its, they do medical stuff, they provide better grips on golf clubs, they do all these things. I get in their innovation center, and I was able to see things that virtually you would never think of. And I'm sitting next to the CIO, and we're sitting there talking, and he's talking about these things, and he said, do you know, Tony, there's 200 pieces of 3M material in virtually every type of iPhone, or every type of phone that's out there. I said, 200 bits and pieces of 3M material, and just in different things. That means that in all of these phones that are out there, it's basically built on 3M's stuff. So without 3M, we would have no cell phone technology. Think about that. And I looked at him, I said, boy, you got a terrible marketing plan. He goes, no. He goes, we want to be in there with all of these folks, from Samsung to Apple. We don't want our name to be on that, we want their name. We want to be that guy in the back room. We want to be that person who's in charge but not in the forefront. So we live in a world where there are many actors involved in or affected by, are partially responsible for every action and virtually every important problem or decision. So think about that. I'm just going to give you another scenario there. When the bridge collapsed in Minnesota, because I think a lot of people that might resonate for a lot of people in the room. When the bridge collapsed, just think of all the people in charge of so many different aspects of that. It's a federally regulated river with a state-built bridge in the city of Minneapolis that owned both sides of that street. And the bridge was built by the Department of Transportation. So there's 4 entities right there that think that they're in charge of rebuilding this thing. And they have to come together to make important decisions. And at the root of it, we have organizations that most focus on how to make money and make the right decisions, ask the right questions to maintain outcomes and profits. It's really important that that's what the core focus is, and I think it's attainable. So right now, everybody's probably going, what the hell is this guy talking about? Well, stay with me. I think we're going to get there. So this is a picture of a shared power world. I got this out of a book, a public policy book. Look at this: hierarchical organization, network organization, groups, individuals, strong formal ties, weak informal ties. And the circumference is the problem. This is truly what we deal with. We may not believe it, but this is what we deal with day in and day out when we're trying to solve complex problems. You have that person out there who's really a key factor in making the decision, and he's not really involved in any networked organization, but they're really important in making that decision. We have to identify that that's really what's going on and focus on what are the outcomes in those users that are out there that we're trying to support. Now, where does data come in? Now, I said the title of this speech is Extreme Data Made Simple, Openness. Well, I do believe this, and this is another thing that you might all say, oh my God, what the hell is this guy talking about? I think the public sector is leading the way in open data. How could that even be possible? Well, think about it. Federal and state laws require entities to make data public. When data comes in, it's public until it's classified as not public. We have to provide information out to people. Why do you think there are things like data.gov and these institutions to say, this information is for you guys. You take it. Utilize it for what you want. And the public is now demanding more data and transparency and performance. What is the Obama administration running their platform on? Transparency and performance. They're trying to say, we're going to give you what we have, and we want you to evaluate us on it, and we want you to see it. We want you to see the information that's out there. Like them or not, they are really putting money into funding programs built on open data platforms. And I'm going to talk about one in a couple minutes here that's pretty amazing. So citizen engagement and performance platforms are sprouting up all over the state, local, and federal level. I'm going to talk about 3. And we're not going to be able to go into each of them because of time, but I just really want to talk a little bit about what's going on. In Maryland. So in Maryland, how many people live in Maryland? A few? So Governor O'Malley was once Mayor O'Malley. Mayor O'Malley lived in Philadelphia, and he ran on a platform that said, I am going to put my performance standards out there for people to see. I'm going to run on this platform, and I'm going to publish it, and you can see it, and you can say, good or bad, how did we do? Well, Mayor O'Malley did a fantastic job, good and bad, but he made it available to the public. So Mayor O'Malley is now Governor O'Malley, and he's doing the same thing. And people love it. People love to see, how are we doing? How are we doing in education? What did we say we were going to do, and how are we measuring up against it? They use state stat to actually put those measures out there and have some good data behind it. Virginia, close neighbor, they had to keep up with the Joneses. They put their performance measures out there as well. Oops, let me go back there. And then, so they put their information out there as well. They're using a different tool, trying to put more information out there. And then citizen engagement. How many people heard the story about the city that said, hey, tell us where there's potholes, and we'll go cover those potholes up for you if you tell us? Yeah, you heard about that, right? Well, Colorado is taking it to another level. At the whole state level, they're saying we want to engage with our citizens at a different level. We want to collaborate with our citizens to know more. We want to be able to interact with people in groups and really know what it is that they want out of us and what they can give to us and what we can give back to them. It's actually happening. And data is on the back end making it happen. So, what tools are out there? Well, you have a lot of vendor partners in the room. A lot of their tools help make this happen. Okay? You have GIS and data overlay tools, performance management tools, open data tools. You have data integration tools, decision modeling tools, business intelligence tools, and on and on and on. And we all have different variety of these tools in our environments, and how do you make it happen? It's not easy. But there's two organizations that I want to talk about now that are really leading the charge in this, that you may have heard of, you may have not, but I want to talk about Socrata.com, the data experience company. So, I talked a little bit about data.gov running on a platform. This is the platform data.gov runs on. Their goal is to spend more time to build the apps and less time worrying about the data. I mean, that is a wonderful concept, isn't it? So, I said earlier, the public sector is leading the way. Well, they're putting their stuff out there. There are 34,000 data structures in Socrata.com. 34,000. Data.gov is about 14,000 of those data structures, but you have the city of Seattle, you have the state of Chicago, you have or the state of Illinois. You have all these different states putting their data up there to be shared in this mutual platform. And what do they want you to do? They want you to build the APIs in your apps. They want you to focus on what you're good at. These bars are killing me. But they want you to focus on what you're good at, building the apps, making it work, making the data available. Policy map, good data, smart decisions. Look at their tagline down there, the simplest, most comprehensive mapping tool on the web. I will tell you that is the worst marketing strategy I've ever seen because that's not what they do. They have 17,000 data points in their environment. They allow you to take your data and overlay on top of that data and map it out in different, how do you want to look at it? How do you want to look at the data? And I'm going to show you more on this tool because this is what we use to build one of our platforms. And it's amazing stuff, 17,000 data points. Good data, smart decisions. So what did we do at Minnesota Housing? So I'm going to talk a little bit about community profiles. So a year and a half ago, we created community profiles built on the policy map system. I said earlier that we were this institution that is a mortgage bank, and we have this do-good component of us. We have this mission-driven to provide safe, affordable housing. How do you do that? You have to know your data, and you have to read it really well. We have some great research folks. We have some great IT folks. But we weren't really perfect at it because we didn't have some overlays. So we built this tool on the policy map system. We created an internal API to interface with the tool. We integrated our data on top of the policy map data, so we had some of our own internal stuff that's now in that cloud. And we created a simple, it was created really simply, and we did it quickly. It wasn't that difficult. We knew we had to build something, and then we'd build more onto it. We had to have something before we could have something better. And we did it at a pretty low cost, and it created a high level of engagement. High value to users, both internal and external. So we did this for ourselves internally. Okay? So we needed to measure, are we granting funding to places that really need it, and how are we making sure? Are we asking the right questions to tell us that we're making that right decision? And can we back it up in court? Can we back it up to the legislature? Can we back it up to the people who are responsible to, the bondholders? So we did that, and 6 months down the road, something amazing happened. It wasn't amazing in the sense that of what it did to the population, but something amazing happened with data and what this tool meant. So I don't know if you saw it on the news, but in northeast Minneapolis, or North Minneapolis, a tornado came through. Decimated the poorest of the poor area. Similar to what happened here with Katrina. So the poorest of the poor were displaced. We had 4 families living in one home. You had people whose homes were passed down amongst generations, and they weren't paying any money really to it, they were just paying the taxes. They didn't have insurance. What do? I'm going to give you a little scenario of what really happens in the real world in those scenarios. Well, FEMA comes in and they say, is this a disaster that we can fund? Well, that was a small enough area where they said, you know what, we're not going to fund this. So what happens next? The Small Business Administration comes in and they say, well, let's see, we can give out loans to these people. These are the poorest of the poor. They don't have anything to their name. They've been displaced. They can't put a loan on the books. And then my organization comes in on the after effect to say, we'll give you $15,000 more for this or $10,000 more for that. And it kind of fell onto us. And we didn't have much that we could do based on our policy or what we were doing. But I was thinking about what this tool really is. And this tool really is a guide to say what is possible. So Governor Dayton he was getting beat up. He was just getting beat up in the media. What are you doing for that group of people? What's going on? Can't you help these people out? And here I was, I'm the CIO of this organization that runs this tool that he doesn't know much about. He knows we have it, but he doesn't really know what it does. And I'm sitting there, and so I'm working with the state CIO, and I'm working with my commissioner, and I'm saying, let's get this in front of him. Because we have the data points that will say what really we should be doing, what questions we should be asking to make this work. And we did that. And it was a raving success. Raving success. National accolades for providing quick and easy information to tell what's going on in that community. And I'm going to talk about that here. So the project purpose wasn't for the tornado folks. It was to provide accessible, user-friendly data, data as a foundation to build community investments, a guide for affordable housing investment decisions, and to maximize impact with the effective investments. We needed to tell our bondholders we're doing the right things even though we're helping people. So we had data and maps that were available with a variety of indicators to tell us information. These tools for accessing communities for planning and funding purposes. Interactive mapping tool. Anyone in this room could go out there and interact with this and create maps of their own. Printable map series for all counties. Data tables available for download, and user ability to customize target areas for what they wanted. So it's a one-stop shop for data. One-stop shop for data. Save time in gathering and analyzing data from a multitude of sources. Streamline the application process that we have internally. And I just want to focus on this last little piece here, is that it was utilized as a model for the state of Minnesota governance and data sharing purposes. And I just want to look at some of the people that we integrated with, or data that we integrated with. U.S. Census data, Department of Revenue data, Met Council, Employee Economic Development, Wilder Foundation, League of Realtors. Let me stop for a second and talk about this group of people. U.S. Census data, federal government, Department of Revenue, state government, Wilder Foundation, they're a nonprofit organization, and League of Realtors, for-profit organization. When do you see those types of organizations coming together to solve a problem? Maybe never. Well, we did it. Here's some sample indicators that are out there. I'm running a little short on time, but I just wanted to show you. These are things that you can go out there and look at. Think of that. Put poverty rate on top of unemployment rate, on top of job growth, and then look at the foreclosure rate in that area, and that tells you something. That tells you we shouldn't be doing these types of things. We should be looking at doing other things. And that was the outcome of what happened in the tornado area. We're not rebuilding houses. We're going to put workforce housing in there. We're going to build a community set of things that needed to be tackled in that area. Let's put funding into programs that need to happen in that area. I'm going to give you some data views. This is what you see when you go into the tool. You go in there, you can select. You could select, add a mapping layer. You can add some sites. You can select the things that you want to pick and overlay on top of each other. You could drill down and really look at an area. And this is for public consumption. Here's some private consumption. Economic integration. So this is the Eastside Renewal. So I talked a little bit about what we did for the tornado. We had an Eastside Renewal project saying, what should we do for this environment? What are the economic integrators? Where are they? Not very many. There's a lot of access to transportation in this area, but look at the foreclosure priorities in that area. What do you do in those types of scenarios? But we have the data to make some data-driven decisions, and it wasn't that difficult. We're actually doing it. We're putting this data in action, analytics in action, to drive data decisions. So in my conclusion, I just wanted to say that we all have to ask the right questions, use the right data, and we have to keep it simple. The public sector truly is leading the way in these open data initiatives. Public sector, private sector, nonprofit sector, and federal sector could all benefit from this data sharing. We've proven it. It's out there. And more businesses are making decisions based on these engagement-based platforms. It is just happening. And I just wanted to tell you, I had a theory when I said I would do this presentation, I had a theory that Policy Map, they'd have some private entities actually utilizing their services. And I have to say, I've been watching. We were one of their success stories. So you had a state government, local government success story, state government, and then all of a sudden you saw a private sector success. Then you had a state success, and then the last 3 or 4, private sector successes. Private sector is going out there, utilizing this data, and making this stuff happen. And it's pretty amazing stuff. So that completes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. While I'm walking over there, Tony, what was the, you showed us some of the platforms. Where does the user actually populate some of those fields or contribute their own information and data? That wasn't clear.
The end users don't contribute to the data fields. That's data that's served up
that they consume themselves.
That they consume.
Okay.
So it's more of a consumption utility.
Okay.
So all the data points are out there and they consume it in that arena.
I just wanted to know where your website is.
It's mnhousing.gov. Really? No questions? Either it was a terrible presentation or I blew you away. I'm going to take it that I blew you away, so that's good. Tough time slot? I get it. I get it.
No, there's some interesting stories. There's one in the UK where the Guardian newspaper actually allowed public citizens to review some of the Member of Parliament's expense reports. And it wasn't to say, oh my God, this is scandalous, but it was to help them create some rules that the citizenry themselves thought was fair.
Correct. Hey, public data, my salary's out there. You can go out there and see our salary, right? Any state employee's salary. I hear it all the time from my friends. Well, I know you make this much money. Yeah.
I'd be curious, you said you were a consultant and now you're a CIO, whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think's next? I mean,
for me?
yeah, after you solve this in the next 18 months.
Asking Tony what his career path is.
Professional breakdancing. I think that I I really like the helping people. I mean, that's why I went in from consulting to do this. I really have this, for me, I think that it's really important that we're able to solve these problems. And why not at a state and federal level? I think it's really important to have good talent there. And that's been one of my goals, is to have talent come into that industry. Will I stay there? Will I do this? Will I go someplace else? I don't know, but I think it's really important that we did this. Maybe running for president, I don't know yet.
Team up with O'Malley.
All right.
Okay, well, Tony Peleska, thank you so much.
Thank you.